From my story to your story, let's talk about grief. I will share my own grief journey, along with interviewing others about their path of sorrow and healing. I hope that you, the listener, will hear something that helps as you navigate your own grief, and that God will be glorified along the way. This content is meant as a discussion and not to give professional help. Let's get started.
So that was the big, I have cancer. But she was no stranger to surgery at that point.
Right.
Because prior to that, she'd actually had 15 surgeries at that point.
That's unbelievable.
That chemo apparently was some of the worst chemo that it's like the worst poison. So she got the wig and she's like, right? So like for like 10 minutes, she's like looking at herself and she goes, It was not pleasant. Next day, we took her out of there against medical advice and rolled her out the door.
That's my Nana. If you're watching on YouTube, to like and subscribe. If you are listening on the podcast, please like and follow. We would love for you to do that now to help our channel grow and become a blessing to others.
So she had a longer journey of fighting things, not just illness, but physical problems for quite a while. What events led up to that, to her passing?
In December of 2015. Well, so everything's the December with her.
It is.
Right? So, because her birthday, December, but December, it was right, I think it was the day before her birthday. She had a doctor's appointment, and she went into the doctor, and it was really weird. He literally just looked at her and he goes, "You've got cancer." I mean, wow. It was extremely blunt, and so much so that the nurse came in and said to her, "I'm so sorry.
Oh, wow.
That's not normally the way that's done. Can I get you some water? Can I call someone for you?" And took her by the hand, got her down, and set her in a chair. She was actually supposed to go that afternoon after her supposedly just routine visit to the doctor to my aunt's house. She was just kind of taken aback and didn't quite know what to say, like how to move on. She said she just had to like breathe for a moment and think, I don't know that I can actually go over there and face her at the moment.
Sure.
And so she said, I just had to just kind of shake it off, walk around the building. She said she walked around the hospital because she kind of forgot where she parked.
Oh, wow.
And just like, then she got in the car and thought, wait, where am I going? What am I doing? And then went, okay, I need to tell someone.
So she's in shock, really.
Mm-hmm. So she called me.
Okay.
And then I saw you.
Yes. Yes. Not an easy moment.
No, not at all. So that was the big, I have cancer. But she was no stranger to surgery at that point.
Right.
Because prior to that, she'd actually had 15 surgeries at that point.
That's unbelievable.
This was 2015. So but before that, she'd had 15 other, surgeries in her life, of this, that, or the other. So the surgery, or her cancer that she had actually was bladder cancer.
Okay.
So what they had determined was that she had a tumor in her bladder. And she had gone in for a biopsy. No indications of, there really wasn't a whole oh, this is like any scary whatever, just they didn't really have a clue. Just we're just going to take a biopsy.
Total shock.
We'll see what this is, and for him to kind of come out the way he did, it was, I think he may have been a little bit in shock as well. I'm not really sure.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Anyway, so, and he gave her basically the prognosis at that time that if we don't do anything about it, basically, you're looking at 5 years maximum. That it is fatal. That's it.
Hard news.
And so the treatment for her, because of the size of the tumor, was they were looking at, let's remove as much of the tumor as we can, and then start chemo and shrink it, and then once we get it down small enough, we'll go and take the bladder out, because there was no way, or at least they didn't think there was any way that they were going to get it all, or get the tumor completely removed without taking out the bladder. That there's always cells left behind, and they just can't take that chance. So the only way is to actually take out the bladder, and to take out the bladder, they have to find a new route. So they would then create an ileostomy with a bag, an external bag on the side, basically. That was the plan. And so they started chemo in January. That ran from January to April of 2016, and that chemo apparently was some of the worst chemo that it's like the worst poison. What the personnel had to go through with it, like what it could have done to them, was they had to have 2 people sign it out. It was double bagged. They had to put on 2 sets of gloves.
Wow.
And I thought, this is crazy.
And then we're putting this in our body, but you need to, what are your choices?
Yeah. Then they had her all set up in case that chemo was going to do her in, as far as really sick, the usual chemo issues and stuff, and all kinds of nausea medication ready, and she just every surgery she ever had, it was all pain medicine on board, ready and waiting, and she would have one day with take a pain pill and go, okay, I'm good, and she's like, where are we going?
Amazing.
She had such a high pain threshold, so with the chemo, it was okay, we'll see how this goes, but it's chemo,
right?
This could be bad. It could be bad. So I would meet her there on some days. A lot of her therapy, the chemotherapy, would be in the afternoon, and she did that on purpose so that I could go to school and then get out of class, meet her there, and then if she didn't feel well enough to drive home, we could just leave her car.
Sure. But
some days she'd be like, let's go to the mall, or Mom, don't you think you want to rest? She's not fine, And I thought, this is going to hit her later. It's going to hit her later. And there were a few days that she was tired, and I think there were probably some days that she was just putting on a show, But yeah, she did really well with the chemo. I mean, you would not have known. There were a couple of times that she seemed, a little. She would let me do things for her. That's how I knew that she wasn't feeling her best. I would say, hey, I stopped by and picked these items up. Could I throw you a sandwich together? Yeah, that'd be okay. I'm like, oh man, she's not feeling it. Yes. But other than that, you wouldn't know. And then when she started to lose her hair, then it was okay. That got her. That really got her.
Really?
And that was, she did not like that at all. But we knew that was coming. I mean, they said this is one of the things, it will definitely happen. That's one of my special memories. It's one of those days. It's the day that she let me get involved in helping her fix the hair issue. So we went to this place out in the West End where they made wigs, especially for people with cancer. And they made them a real
Right, they look more realistic. And
so we went out there to look at these and feel the different hair and stuff like that. And so we decided on the style and you know, and a price range and that kind of thing. And I went and I talked to the lady first and everything, and kind of told her about Mom. So we go in there and she's like, and what? I'm gonna show you these. Mom's somewhere else.
Oh my goodness.
Mom's touching something else. Mom had to touch everything. So she's touching every one. I'm like, that's a nice long black wig there. The lady in the store, she's just like, well, I could pull a few of those if you want. And Mom's like, no. What have you got there? And so she pulls out one that looks exactly like her natural hair. She goes to put this one on Mom, and it's big, of course, because the inner cap piece isn't fit for her yet, and they're adjustable. And so she puts it on, and it falls over Mom's head, and Mom's like, immediately, this isn't going to work, because she's already negative about it's not going to fit, it's not going to feel good, and she's having one of those days, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Mom, just got to keep an open mind, okay? And she goes, it's going to itch. I know it's going to itch. Well, it's got a tag in it, and it's got a lining in it for people to fit it on because somebody else is going to fit it on. And I'm like, Mom, will you just wait a minute? just a little minute, okay? So the lady goes, hang on a second. And so she reaches down and she pulls out the little footies that you try shoes on.
Yes.
Right? So she pulls this out and she goes, here, hold this. And she puts it in Mom's hand and she takes the other one. And Mom looks at me and she goes, I'm not trying on shoes, am I? I'm like, I don't know if you're trying on shoes or not. It kind of looks like you're trying on shoes. And she goes, I do like to try on shoes. Meanwhile, the lady's pulls this over her head, right, and then puts the wig on really quickly, pulls something off on the back, and then does this magic fluff like that, and whips Mom around, and she's like,
wow.
And there she is, like,
wow,
she's Mom again, you know, and this little grin, and she's like, oh, and that's Mom's sound, right? Mm-hmm. It's the oh. So she got the wig, and she's like, oh. Right, so like for like 10 minutes, she's like looking at herself, and she goes, I don't know. I don't know. Okay? You want to try the other one? She takes it off and she puts it in the box, and she goes, no, I'll take this one. Okay, good.
It's a big deal to get the right wig.
So she buys the wig, right, and we go to leave the store, and I said, well, we're going to lunch, right? Well, yeah, we're going to lunch. And I said, could you put that on, please?
Put the wig on.
She goes, why? I said, well, you did buy it to wear it, right?
Right.
And she said, today? I think that'd be best.
For today.
And she said, well, what if I get it dirty?
Oh, that's hysterical.
Eating? How are you going to get it dirty eating? That's what I want to know. I get it. You can put it on in the car. So we get in the car. And I'm so glad she put it on in the car. She puts this thing on in the car. And I cannot drive. I'm laughing so hard because she's got it on backwards. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And she goes, I think it fits better in the car. I'm just like, Mom.
We gotta turn it around.
She goes, this reminds me of the way I had my hair back in the day. I'm like, well, what day was I'm like, is that shag cut you used to have? And she knows she's got it on backwards is the thing. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I love it.
So funny. We
need a funny moment in that. Yes.
We did. And she kept turning it every which way, and it was so much fun. And then she takes it off, and she's got a little bit of hair left, and it is sticking up all over the place. And she goes, I'm ready now. And then she's making this ugly looking look on her face, and her hair's all over the place, and she puts it up on the dashboard, and she goes, if I go in like this, I might get a discount.
Did she ever put the wig on to go in to eat?
Did what it needed to do, and she finished with all of that, and they went ahead and scheduled the surgery to go ahead and remove the bladder and create her access for the urostomy. And so in May, May the 10th, she went in to have the surgery done. But she, like I said, she'd been in the surgery before and had several hernia operations, so she already had problems with her intestines. When they got in there to find a healthy section of her intestine to use for the ileostomy, they ran into some problems. The plan after that was, after a couple of days, the 2 drains were going to come out. They were going to send her over to the rehab so that she could learn to change the bag on her own, make sure that she could, handle it, and then get a little physical strength. And because she'd just gone through a couple of months of chemo, also, make sure that she could handle all of that on her own before sending her on home. Fortunately, that's not the way it happened. So
right.
The one day turned into a nightmare of cascading failures. The very next day, the output of urine stopped. Fever occurred, and then one thing led to another. The ureters had actually come detached from the kidneys, and they were just leaking into her body cavity. So they had put too much tension, and they were just kind of freely, they were going to have to redo the ileostomy. But in the meantime, there was the fever. So they started pumping her full of antibiotics, took her back to surgery, emergency surgery in the middle of the night to redo. The problem is they did not have another viable section of her intestine.
Okay.
And so they couldn't put it up higher where it needed to be. They had to go with a portion that was lower in the abdomen, but then they were running into problems with more hernias that she had. They ran into a section that she had a load of mesh that was put in there. It was a lot of trouble. Long story short, the one surgery turned into 5 surgeries.
Yes.
In 4 days, and through it, with each new surgery, they just, she was slipping away.
Yes.
She was at a state of where she did not know who she was, what was going on. The one thing that kept happening is she kept thinking that the IV pump was talking to her.
Oh my.
It just kept haunting her, basically. It was telling her strange things, and she was hearing things, seeing things. The hallucinations were getting worse. It was very scary.
That's hard to. I mean, I'm not speaking from experience, but in my imagination, that would be one of the hardest things to deal with. Is knowing someone's. There's nothing to be afraid of as far as what they think they should be afraid of, and you can't. How do you calm their fears because they're so sure that they've seen or heard that?
She wasn't making a lot of sense. She wasn't really capable of making, medical decisions on her own. They had to call infectious disease in to try and figure out why was her temperature up, what was going on. They thought they had things taken care of. They ended up going ahead and putting stents in both of her kidneys. She went into kidney failure. Turns out they found out that they left the portacath in from where she had her chemotherapy.
Okay.
And that had gotten a yeast in it, and she had become septic with a yeast, which is not something that they were looking for. So a month after the initial surgery of doing the removal of the bladder and everything, they took the portacath out and treated her for the yeast sepsis, and they got the fever down and got her medically sound. And so the rehab was going to take longer. And now, because of the altered mental state that she was in, rehab was like, didn't even seem like it was possible.
Okay.
Initially, they were going to put her in one level of rehab, but now they said that they couldn't take her, so that became another issue. So they had to put her in a different level.
Okay.
That meant a different facility. And
Okay.
that became a problem. With me talking to her and encouraging her and being there for her and helping and doing what I could do, we were making some progress.
Okay.
And the rehab facility they put her in order for her to be there were a certain number of hours a day that she had to be doing physical activity
Oh, okay.
for her to stay there. Like
Okay.
3 hours a day she was expected to be doing jogging, running, or exercise bike.
Wow.
She wasn't that active to begin with. I mean, we are talking about a senior citizen to begin with. Okay,
Right.
fine. She was willing to try. Now, she didn't know what day of the week it was. She was still having trouble knowing who she was, who the president was.
Wow.
We were still having some cognitive dysfunction, but she was, I guess so. If that's what they say I've got to do, I don't want to go anywhere else. This is where I want to be. And that was fighting a losing battle, and she was starting to get really frustrated, and she was starting to give up.
Oh.
And finally, they just decided she has to move. She can't stay here. And they moved her to another facility. And something clicked inside, and that was the beginning of the downfall.
Okay.
At the same time, this all happened. She was in a good spot, and she said she was actually doing really well. Like we had planned that she was going to go home, and that I was going to move into her house. And we were going to have the in-home health people come in, and we were going to finish rehab in her house. Well, we had planned a family vacation, and she said, "Go ahead and go. I can finish the rehab here, and we can. It's fine." And she was improving. It's great, but the bickering that continued between one personnel and another personnel escalated while we were gone. And I had a family friend that was keeping in touch with me that, hey, I think things are kind of reaching ahead here. I don't know if you can talk to someone, and trying to get in touch with someone from another state in a different time zone with a cell phone service that kept dropping. It was like a nightmare. I should have never gone, and hindsight is what it is.
Right, it is.
And then, so as soon as, plane hit the tarmac, came to find her at another facility on a Saturday and found her the way I found her. It was not pleasant. Next day, we took her out of there against medical advice and rolled her out the door.
Okay.
With a nurse manager screaming, "You can't do that. You can't do that." I said, "Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Robin, go get the car. Back it up to that door." And she's like, "Do what?" I said, "Go get it. Back it up to that door over there. You will find me there." Because, I had fought so hard with Mom to get her out of a state of where she had given up. And where she had said, "Just let me go. Just let me go. I'm done. I'm done fighting. What's the point?" And I said, "We are not going there. That is not where we are." I get in there and I find my mom laying in soiled linens, crying, freezing cold. I find a nurse, and I was like, "Look, My mom needs, she needs the bag changed. She needs her bed sheets changed. Where are the products? They didn't send them with her. Yes, they did. I talked to them. I talked to the transport people. They sent the products. And she said, well, I'm sorry, but I don't have the time to look for them right now. I'm the only RN for the entire floor, which means I'm the only one that can give meds. So there are other nurse aides that can do certain things, but I'm the only one that can give meds. So I have to go around and give everybody their medications.
Okay.
Once I get through that, then I can do some other things. And I said, okay, fair enough, I get that. We can address that issue later. However, my mom's not going to sit for another 8 hours in soiled linens. Where's the linen closet? I'll do it myself.
Sure.
And she said, I can't have you do that. And I said,
It's my mom.
fine, you go do what you need to do. I'm walking around and I'm opening doors. She's like, ma'am. I said, you got something to do. So I'm opening closets and whatnot. And she's like, ma'am, you can't go. I said, you go do what you've got to do. And I'm going to do what I've got to do. I can surely make a bed. I'm not above that. But my mom is not going to sit here in soiled linens. So she found the closet, found a set of sheets for me and handed them to me. And I said, thank you very much. And so I found the products that they sent, which were not the right products, but I made do with what I had just to get through with what was going on. I got on the phone, I talked to some people at some area hospitals, and I made arrangements for certain products to be sent over. I copied down product numbers. All the while, I'm talking to Mom, who's given up.
Yes.
She has literally assumed what we would call the O or Q factor, which is the...
Okay.
And I was like, oh no, no. I need you with me. I need you to talk to me. We're gonna get through this. We're not there. And you could tell that she had given up. She went in a place because she couldn't take that humiliation.
Right.
And it's like I have fought too hard through this. We're not going there. I mean, I need to be a cheerleader. I ran up and down that hallway so many times that weekend because there's not a lot you can do on a weekend.
Right.
I don't remember. I don't remember how many days it was that I went without sleep. I mean, I was going on pure adrenaline. I called the doctor's service, the doctor that did her surgery, and I left a message with the doctor on call, explaining what was going on, and I said, I need her out of this facility. So he did, actually. He got his nurse to call me, and the nurse called me and said, I'm so sorry, but your only choice is to go ahead and take her home and just sign her out against medical advice in that facility. Take her home and then bring her into the office on Monday, and then we will start whatever paperwork we can get done. If something happens outside of your care, take her to the emergency room from your home. Call an ambulance. They will have whatever they need,
Okay.
to help from there. But, yeah, go ahead. Sign her out. And I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I did. I was like, all right. So I wrapped her up like loincloth, with the blankets that I got. And she was kind of like fighting me. And kind of dead weight, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna need a little help, okay? Hey, Mom, I'm gonna need a little help. I'll speak to the Lord. I'm gonna need a little help here, okay? I don't know if this is the right thing to do or not, but if this is the right thing to do, could you please just get her to be on board with what's going on? And she's like, you're taking me home?
Oh.
I'm like, I'm taking you home. And she's like, thank you. And she sat up, and I was like, it's the right thing to do. So I had gotten in touch with Robin. And so Robin came up there. And there was no way we were going to get her in Robin's car. So Robin had parked her car, and I gave her my keys, and she said, so what are we doing? I said, do you see that door over there? She said, the one out back. And I said, uh-huh. I said, go find my car. And she's like, yeah. I said, now back it up to that door. And she goes, and what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to take Nanny in this wheelchair, and I'm going to meet you at that door. And she said, you're going to meet me at that door? I said, I am. There's an alarm is going to go off. Do not be worried.
We're breaking out of here.
We were breaking out. I was running down the hall, pushing that, and this lady is running behind me, screaming at me, man, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I said, watch me. Here I go. And Mom, it was like one of those movies. Mom's going, I'm getting out of here.
I'm going home. That probably revived her spirits some.
We didn't leave, though. I mean, we did stop. It was funny. We stayed another couple of hours.
Okay.
The lady, the one lady was the nurse that was taking care of her, was not taking care of her. She said, you can't take her out of here without, the doctor signing her out. And I said, well, I can. I talked to my doctor, and I will go against the medical advice of the doctor here, and I will be in the care of her physician. I know there's a form. If you'll please get me the form, I'll be glad to sign it. But then the nurse manager came around, and she said, I understand completely. And she said, if you wouldn't mind taking her back to the room, I would love to get her belongings together and get her dressed and get you all the medication that actually has her name on it, and you can take it with you.
Okay.
That way she can take what meds she needs to take, and there's pain medicine here for her as well, because she's probably going to need it later. Mm-hmm. And it might take us, a little while to get everything together, and there's supplies here that you should probably take with you that might get you through till Monday. And I was like, that would be great. And I said, but I don't want her anywhere near her. And she said, that's doable. And then I don't know who he was, some manager person who was from corporate or whatever, who was trying to give me some song and dance about how they were under new management and, wanted to talk to me about my concerns. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't really have the time or don't want to take the time. It's not going to do me any good for you to sit here and tell me what regulations of the government are. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's not doing anything for the care that she is not getting. Okay. I mean, it's not going to change things. I get it. It's a Medicare whatever regulation. And if you think that's doing any good, I'd like to see that turned around. Not really. I wouldn't wish it on your mother or your grandmother, because it's not good care.
Right.
It just isn't. So if you want to ask me some later, when the time is right now it's not the time. But I have a patient that needs taken care of. Now, do you hear the screaming and the moaning down the hall? There are several other patients that are in the same condition, and they don't have loved ones here. Maybe you could go take care of them.
Wow.
But I'm going to go take care of my mother, and we're going to get her home. And for a couple of weeks, there were days that she would kind of drift into this, just hole that I would say, oh, no, we're not going there. And I felt like a cheerleader. I just had to be upbeat and roll around and do whatever I had to do. Like study hall. You know what I mean? just trying to just keep the attention and the eyes wide open until I found Mom again. And that was 2016.
Okay.
And I found Mom again. And then Mom found me. And Mom found Purpose again. And Mom was back. And then we went to, it was funny, we went to England. So funny, because Mom came to Myrtle Beach, right? And she's like, well, I had to go to Myrtle Beach because she refused to change her bag. I had been doing it for her. Like, when that all
You've been
took
doing
place,
it from then on?
I had been doing it for her. So I would come and change her bag whenever it needed, because nobody figured out how to do it. No one understood how the materials work. I found a way to make it work. I would come over in the middle of the night. She would call and say, Val, I'm sorry, but the bed's wet. I'll be there. Okay, it's 3 a.m. This is
so
where...
this is a lot in your life right now.
This was 2016.
All back and forth.
I'm like, but by 2018, newer products had come out, plus Mom's determination.
Mm-hmm.
Mom got through it. Mom was like, no, you know what? I will be independent. Independent is definitely Mom, So, but initially, it was really funny because, was it that school year? I think it was that school year. We started the beginning of the school year, 2018, and I got up that one morning to go to school, and I was like, that leg is red. I'll just take a shower. I'll go to work. We'll see what's going on. I got to work, and I was like, that leg's redder than it was. And I was like, I don't think that's good. And I did a little Google search, and I thought, cellulitis kind of comes to mind, right?
Yes.
So I called my doctor's office, and I said, I might need to come in. And they said, no, go to the ER now.
Oh, yes.
So I went to the ER, and they're like, yeah, we want to admit you.
Oh, my.
And I was like, I can't. I have to go to my mom's at lunchtime because that's how I was handling it at that point. I would go to school, and then I would, at my lunch break, I would go over and change her bag at lunch break, and then go back to school. And so I called Mom, and I was like, so I'm going to be... I'm not sure what I'm going to be. I'm at the hospital right now, waiting in the emergency room to see the doctor. I didn't know what I had at that point. So Mom comes to see me. She waits in the waiting room with me. So we're sitting there, and she says, they get me back there, and they take a look at things, and they're telling me, they're hanging me antibiotics, and they're like, the doctor says they really want you to be admitted. And I see her fidgeting, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she said, well, didn't really want to tell you this, but the bag's been leaking for several hours. But she goes, you've got your own problems. Don't. And I was like, well,
what do I do?
We could trade places for if you just jump up here, I'll change your bag with my legs stuck up in the air. I don't know. And so I convinced them to not admit me to the hospital, but to send me home on antibiotics if I promised not to go to work, but lay flat on my back. So that when I got home, Mom came home with me with her supplies, and I changed her bag at my house. Yeah, fortunately it was a Friday, and then I didn't have to work through the weekend, right? And I didn't go to her house. She and Dad figured out how to change the bag together, and from then on, she said, I don't need you. I've got this taken care of.
Wow, so that was the moment when she said,
and she said, I got this. Yeah, so independent she became, which was good because that's when Dad got his diagnosis of cancer.
Yes.
And then she took over, and his went pretty quick, because then she started feeding him through his feeding tube and into his stomach, and because he started getting the radiation treatments, and he couldn't swallow, and
And so essentially she's now thrown into a reason to live again and caretaking like she's used to.
We appreciate you joining us today at Speak Your Grief with Sonia. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube as new episodes are added weekly. Thank you again for joining us as we unpack our grief. We hope you have been reminded that you are not alone in this journey.